Good evening. My name is Vern Jordan. I'm the lead docent here at the Biblical History Center. Our goal is to help people experience the ancient biblical world, its history, and culture. We do that with 21 exhibits we have, each based on an archaeological discovery in Israel, and each pretty close to size. We have the life of the shepherd, the life of the farmer, and village life in biblical times. So let me show you around. We're standing right now in our goat hair tents, which is an exhibit under the life of the shepherd. Abraham and Sarah, the others, all lived in tents, and they're nomadic shepherds, moving from place to place. We have a couple of sheepfolds. We have one over here. This is a temporary sheepfold. Many shepherds go out and stay overnight for several days, come back, resupply, go back out again. They have to have a place to put the sheep at night to protect them. So they get the branches and the briars, the sticks and the twigs, and they make a temporary sheepfold like you see here. Now, over here is a permanent sheepfold. As you look around, you see lots of things made of stone. That's the basic building material in the biblical period. And when the Israelites finally move into the land, now they have permanent structures, permanent homes, and this is a permanent sheepfold made of stone. This wall is a little higher than this wall. That's because they separate the sheep from the goats. Sheep don't jump, goats do. Over here, we have some tombs. The way ancient people, or people today even, treat and honor their deceased loved ones is important. And so this is an Old Testament time period too that shows how they place people. When they move into the land, they can have permanent structures. Well, they can have permanent tombs as well. And this is an Old Testament time period family tomb. Here we have a New Testament time period rolling stone tomb. This is important this time of the year for us because we talk about Jesus in the empty tomb. This stone would be a 2-ton stone set on an incline like this, so its natural position is to roll closed. This coming up this way, we have our crosses. You will notice that our crosses are on trees. That's the normal method for the Romans. They didn't take time to carve a nice pretty beam. They're just going to kill you on it, and they want it to be as brutal and as gruesome as possible. They didn't invent crucifixion, but they did try to perfect it, and they learned to put a saddle on the tree. That's the smaller beam you see halfway up. Wrap a man's knees around there, nail his feet to the sides of the tree, and now he can push up and gasp for air, and it can take days to die. This is a representation of a cross on a tree. Normal method for the Romans. Well, leaving our theme of death and resurrection, we go to the farm. And here we have a threshing floor. The threshing floor is for processing the grains. Dad's job is to plow the field and plant the seeds. Everyone prays for rain. Everyone brings the harvest in, and they lay it out on the threshing floor when it's dried enough, and take a threshing sled and separate the seeds from the stalks. And they have about 5 steps in the process before they can bag the grain in bags. Here's a grape press. In the ancient world, pressing produces blood. So whatever you press on, the thing that comes out of that is the blood of. What comes out of the grape press is the blood of the grape. Does it look like blood? Kind of, sort of, if you think about grape juice. So a grape press. Down here, we have an olive press. What comes out of the olive press? The blood of the olive, of course. Does it look like blood? Looks a little more like sweat, doesn't it? It's olive oil, of course, but a lot of pressing goes on here. Jesus, so hard pressed in the Garden of Gethsemane, prays, "Father, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done." And he is under so much stress and strain and pressure, he begins to sweat great drops of blood. Does it have to look like blood to be the blood of the Savior? We have the blood of the grape that looks like blood, the blood of the olive that looks more like sweat, in the garden of pressing. Here we have 2 altars. Altars were built next to the threshing floors, so you can thank God immediately for the harvest that you received. This is a Jewish altar made with uncut stones. This, a Canaanite altar built with smooth cut stones. Following from here, we move to the village. Our village is under repair. But we have the marketplace here for the merchants to weigh out their wares. Here's an underground silo for storing the grain. Why would it be in the village? So enemy armies will not steal your food supplies. So the silo is built underground inside the city walls. Here we have a Roman-style aqueduct to bring water into the city. And this is an Old Testament time period home. The homes that they have found in Jewish areas dating before the Babylonian captivity were 4-room houses. This is our 4-room house. This is the city gate. The gate was built at the lowest end of town, Why? Well, it doesn't rain from May to October. You have to collect the water when it comes. So the rainwater would flow this way toward the city gate and fill up your cistern by the city gate. Travelers do not have to traipse your town to find water. It's right here by the city gate. The gate is the weakest part of the city wall, and so you build a fortress on top to defend the city at the weakest point. Now, I have a brief paraphrase, if you'll allow me, that kind of sums some of these things up. Remember the story of Ruth in the Old Testament? Elimelech and Naomi had two sons named Mahlon and Chilion, and they lived in Bethlehem, but there was a famine in Bethlehem, so they moved to Moab to find food. When they got there, Elimelech died almost immediately. The two boys married Moabite girls, Orpah and Ruth. Then the two boys die, leaving all three women widowed and childless. Naomi says to the girls, listen, girls, I've got to get back to Bethlehem where I have some family to help take care of me. So they head out, and when they get to the city gate, she'll turn to the girls and say, listen, girls, if I had a man tonight, I could not raise a son in time for you. Go home, get married, raise a family, do what you're supposed to do. And Orpah would say, okay. Ruth would say, no. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. I'll live where you live. I'll die where you die. Naomi cannot convince her otherwise, so the two women make their way to Bethlehem. They get there, and Ruth discovers there's not a speck of food in the house. She says, I'm going to glean in someone's field today. She goes out after Naomi blesses her and ends up in the field of a guy named Boaz. Well, she's sort of caught his eye. He's noticed how well she takes care of Naomi. He tells the reapers, leave a little extra behind for Ruth. So they do. She goes home that afternoon with this big bunch of grain in her apron, and Naomi would say, whose field did you glean in today? Some guy named Boaz. Oh, he's a family member. He's a kinsman redeemer. Listen, he'll be at the threshing floor. Remember the threshing floor? He'll be there tonight guarding his harvest. Wait till his heart is merry. He'd probably been to the grape press. When he falls asleep, lay down at his feet. When he wakes up, ask him to cover you with his blanket. Well, she does what she's told. She gets there, he falls asleep, she lays down at his feet, he wakes up and goes, oh, whoa, wait, what are you doing here? Women are not supposed to be in the threshing floor overnight. Why? I didn't tell you everything that happens at the Canaanite altars. Well, she says, cover me with your blanket. He knows what this means. He says, actually, there's a redeemer closer than I am, but go back to sleep, I'll take care of things first thing in the morning. He gets up before daylight, gives her some extra grain, sends her on her way. See how he protects her reputation? Gets her out of there before anyone can see. She goes back to Naomi. She must have said something like this. Do you think he means it? Naomi says, listen, he's a man of his word. He will not rest until he settles the matter today. Now, the reason that he says, wait, and there's a redeemer closer is because the Jewish couple, even today, when they take their wedding vows, do so under a cloth canopy. We have a canopy over here. Theirs would be a linen cloth canopy. When she said, cover me with your blanket, she was saying, marry me. Perform the duty of a kinsman redeemer. So he goes to the city gate the next morning, and he waits for the nearer redeemer, who's unnamed, by the way. We never get his name. When he shows up, he says, there's a matter for us to decide today. He would go to the city judges. Everyone knows where they live in town. And when he gathers them together at the gate, he says in front of God, the world, and everybody, Elimelech's field is for sale. Naomi's put it up. You're the closest redeemer. Do you want it? And he says, oh my, it's a wonderful field. I'll pay for it today. And then Boaz says, well, Ruth comes with it. And the guy says, no, thank you. Was she ugly? No, of course not. The first child born to Ruth would go to Naomi, and he would have to share his inheritance with that child. He's not willing to do that. Boaz is not afraid of that. So he takes Ruth as his wife, and the whole point of the story is to tell us where David came from. Boaz and Ruth had Obed. Obed had Jesse. Jesse had David. That's the point of the story. But do you know what Boaz was before he met Ruth? He was ruthless.